4th down, the final play.
Here we go.
Unless they can stick it in the end zone. Dorsey under pressure, throws it. Incomplete. The Buckeyes win.
Ezekiel Elliott, and he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him?
Feature the two backs as receivers, and now a downfield shot on first down for the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State strikes first. Making adjustments again, and there is Smith running free, breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards. Pressure comes. Sawyer, knock it out, and gets it out. Jack Sawyer coming down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score and dagger from 82 yards.
Here they come.
Heavy pressure. Howard delivers downfield. It's Smith. He's got it. Jeremiah Smith. The 2025 College Football National Champion, Coach Ryan Day, and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Welcome in, Buckeye backers. We are bringing it to you live from Seattle, Washington, to the cornfields of Enid, Ohio. We are the pulse of Buckeye fans across the nation, with Seattle Matt and Buckeye Steve.
Yo, ho,
Welcome
ho.
in, Buckeye backers. Here we go. We got another show for you. And now we know who we're playing on December 31st, New Year's Eve. What is your take on playing at 7:30 on December 31st? I mean, just the timing of it. Is that good? Is that bad? Do you not care?
I will say, other than the ending on the last time we played on New Year's Eve, it was a fun game to watch. I enjoyed the timing. It was a great little add-in to the New Year's Eve party. Unfortunately, that kick did not go our way at the end of the Georgia game. So hopefully a different outcome, but actually enjoy the timing of the game personally.
Do you? I don't know. I don't know for ticket sales and reasonings of that nature, and people not being able to watch because their wife has something planned, their girlfriend has something planned, or some of these girls that are big Buckeye fans, maybe their husband has something planned or their boyfriend has something planned, but they don't want them watching football. Buckeye fans are crazy.
I mean, you already getting the boys together for some drinks. Why not have that with some football? I was all about it.
Oh, I'm with you on that. I mean, I'll be watching. I'm just saying that might close the door for some others that don't really have a shot at being able to catch the game.
That's fair. That's fair, man. I know everybody's going to have plans that night, and then maybe it distracts some Buckeye fans from really dialed in for the game. But, hey, if you're a true Buckeye fan,
you'll be watching.
Dialed in anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll definitely be watching. But now we know who it is. We got the Miami Hurricanes. And just like 2002, this matchup is going to be huge. I mean, I guess it's not as big as 2002. But
watching that intro video, it showed me like two keys of the game already, right? Talked about that. They're showing the sack at the end of the game in overtime for Ohio State to win the national championship. Obviously, the last time Ohio State played, they gave 5 sacks to Indiana. Yesterday, you saw Miami get 7 sacks against Texas A&M. That's going to be a key cog in the game here. Also, Miami tends to give up the deep ball, and we showed Jeremiah Smith last year just firing people deep. Can we take advantage of the corner? Can we get enough protection for Julian Saying to hit those deep passes and really light up the scoreboard?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about their defense and how they get after it. Their defensive line is one that everyone has to know about it. Bain especially, he's been compared with, the best defensive ends in the country, and rightfully so. I mean, he gets after it, but we have some defensive ends of our own that need some credit, man. You got to get in Caden Curry. You got to get in Kenyatta Jackson, and you got to get in maybe Arvell Reese, because sometimes he lines up on the defensive line and it comes off the edge like that. But they got some studs, man, and we got to give them credit, man. Give credit.
Our defense is obviously going to be ready to play. I mean, all across the board, you can't really find a weak link in the defense. Maybe passes kind of down the seam, but for the most part, man, there's no weaknesses on the Ohio State defense. That isn't what scares me. I think you just saw a defensive line that was able to put pressure on the offensive line, and you saw the 5 sacks given up to Indiana. And this is probably going to be a little bit better, more talented outside defense end wise. Now, I think Indiana's tackles were a lot better than what Miami will put on the field. But as far as their ends go, this is about as good as it gets in college football.
For sure. And you're right about that. Giving up 5 sacks to Indiana, that's got to be on Ohio State's radar, because this is a team that just put up 7 sacks. So we really need to pay attention to how we clean up that offensive line, especially on third downs. Got to get after it. What we've heard so far is Mario Cristobal, which was responsible for probably 3 of those sacks. I'd have to go back and look, but I believe it was 3 that he was responsible for. Probably won't be playing in this game. There are at least rumors out there that he's injured for the rest of the season. So hopefully that's cleaned up. When Gabe Van Sickle went in, things were good. Obviously,
that's the two sides of this coin. Miami gives up the deep ball. Miami gives up the deep ball. You can hurt them. You can hurt them bad. But you can only hurt them bad if you can give Sayin some time.
For sure. And I think Sayin looked good on rollouts too against Indiana. So rolling him out against these defensive ends may not be the best strategy, because I think more of that pressure was coming up the middle for Indiana, and I don't think you're going to get as much pressure up the middle. I mean, just because the defensive ends are what the strong point is for Miami, but they also have Akeem Mesidor. I didn't look and see who got all the sacks really on that game. See who got all the sacks. He had
It's kind of spread out, but
3
Isaiah
tackles for
Jones
loss.
for Indiana had most of the sacks against Ohio State. And then let's see.
Bain had 3 sacks himself.
Yeah.
4 tackles for a loss. So he got after it.
Keontae Scott for Miami had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss. Like they were in that backfield just eating, man. You're talking about Bain had 3, Scott had 2. You're talking about 5 of the 7 sacks just between those 2 men. So,
and Mesidor had 1.5, and he's a defensive lineman.
But yeah, hopefully it's a typical Julian stepping up in the pocket and hitting one of our wide receivers deep, man. I think you're obviously going to get a motivated wide receiver core out of Ohio State, because guess where they all played? They all played down there, South Florida, and you know they're ready to show out against Miami.
Well, let's talk about this. They struggled. Miami struggled offensively, right?
They did. I'll argue one point of that, but obviously the scoreboard, they struggled. If there's teams that have a worse kicking problem than Ohio State, you're looking at Miami and Texas A&M. Lord have mercy, how many missed field goals were in that game. But I want to talk about the once committed running back that flipped to Miami at the last minute, Mark Fletcher. I mean, at 17 carries, 172 yards, at 10.1 per carry, man, he was dominant. He had a 56 long. So if they did have an offensive weapon that was working, it was Fletcher, just never translated to the scoreboard.
Oh, and why didn't it translate? 1 for 4
red zone issues, and a kicker who can't kick. We know that problem.
Yeah, ours aren't 1 for 4 bad though. This is
no.
I mean, you might as well just hang it up as a kicker if you're 1 for 4 in a game like this. They weren't like excessively long kicks.
There's only one that's probably decently long, which is the 47-yard kick. But we talk about a 40, a 21, a 35. That should be standard issue. Going to the cafeteria. Here's your applesauce.
Yep. Yeah. Served up on a platter for you. I can see, missing a 40-yarder in a big game. I can see missing the 47-yarder, like you said. But, man, you got to hit that 35. You got to hit that 21-yarder. If you're a D1 kicker, whoo, buddy. It was a little windy there, too. I'll give them that.
Hopefully we don't come down to this, but maybe we get a redemption kicker game,
Maybe they need to get out there with Pat McAfee on the field with the kickers rather than
maybe we should pull a kid out of the audience.
They don't need anyone out of the audience. Just get the kickers out there. Let them get some NIL, man.
It was a pretty windy day. That's a good point, Brian. Super windy day. Of course, across America. I was traveling around in 100-mile-an-hour winds in Colorado trying to make it back home for Christmas. It's been
what is that kicker that out of the audience just barely missed one, right?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, winds definitely played a factor. If you were watching the flags, they're getting whipped around. And that stuff gets in the kickers' heads, man. Like you're trying to figure out how you compensate for it. It's a different ball game when it's super windy. So Brian's got a point, but still, that's your job, man. That's the one thing that you do is kick field goals as far as making points.
If I remember correctly, it was like a 15-mile-an-hour wind too.
Yeah, Sayan has been clean all the way up until that Indiana game. That's when it started getting a little dirty for him, and that's kind of the tail of the tape. Is that who we are throughout the season, or do we actually have some flaws since we played a dominant team in Indiana? And then you have Miami, who has a capability of providing that pressure. So that's the question: is who are we, the regular season Ohio State, or are we going to be the Ohio State versus Indiana offensive line wise? Because Miami can't exploit that. Now with Miami, they sell out their corners, and their corners not as good as Indiana. And Julian saying, I mean, this is be his kind of game.
Do you think they change it up in this game? Do you think they sell out their corners?
I don't know. I don't know what their strategy is going to be. Their defensive line is obviously good enough to kind of build the pressure without additional help. But with that said, the cornerbacks and the safeties have been giving up long passes all day. And Tate and Smith have got to just be licking their chops to get after those corners. Now, are they going to change their defensive philosophy to try to slow down the wide receivers? Of course, that's what everybody does when they play Ohio State. But doesn't mean you can.
Yeah. Hey, you're traveling, right? I mean, you're abroad. You're in Guam. You're back in the States, at least for Christmas break, right? So what do you have with you? You don't have your microphone? What are you using?
Yeah, kind of got the wife's laptop, but microphone didn't make the trip, unfortunately. Kind of forgot to put it in the bag. Plus, I got to pack for a business trip and Christmas, so bags were a little tight.
Well, dude, I didn't even tell you. Hey, man, you're going to be running the show with me or something. So more power to you. But real quickly, got to make a little quick ad read for Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Polymarket allows you to stay informed and profit from your knowledge by betting on future events across various topics. So in our show, I'm going to go ahead and link our link. So if you want to make some picks this college football season or for anything in general, whether it's future news or any topic across a platform that Polymarket gives you. I mean, politics, you want to bet on that? It's in there. So anything that you want, go support us, make some picks, but use our link if you're going to do it. Appreciate you all. This show, as always, is brought to you by Polymarket, which is interesting. I didn't know about Polymarket till I think it was the presidential election between Biden and Trump, and Biden was trying to squash it for whatever reason, but they did predict Trump to win. So just kind of interesting.
Yeah,
we got Doug in the show.
Of course. What's up, Doug?
The locker room. Welcome to the locker room again, Doug, official member of the locker room, Doug Shepard. Good morning, Buckeye Steve. Good morning, man. We got on here a little early, so sorry. AJ's got some stuff he's got to take care of this morning, and he's been gone out of the States for a while, so he's got to wake up early, bright and early in Central Time, doing this show.
Haven't seen the family in about 7 months, so trying to get this done before they all get moving for the day, because I'm sure they won't be the happiest if I'm doing football.
So we got something from Brian Buckeye Stats here, and I just wanted to put it up here because you talked about the rushing game. Well, they struggled a little bit to rush against Texas A&M. And Texas A&M has the 58th ranked rushing defense. Ohio State's got the 5th ranked rushing defense. So you go from 4 yards per carry basically to 2.8 yards per carry that these defenses are allowing. So Ohio State's going to be a much stingier defense, almost a yard and a quarter better.
Yeah, that's what's got to be scary for Miami, right? Like that's been their bread and butter is Fletcher running the ball. And if you can take that 1 key position away or weapon away from Miami. They're in some deep, deep water. And I think you're seeing that when the spread, we talked about betting. This is what was it, the 9.5 point game?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. I think I'd hit Ohio State covering right now. Obviously, we got to take care of the offensive line and we got to take care of Miami's pressure, but I don't know, man. I think if with our ability to shut down the run game, Fletcher being their only real weapon, Beck has been inconsistent. I think Miami could find themselves in deep water.
Yeah, and what Beck do we get? Obviously, Beck has 12 personalities on the field. He could be a gunslinger. He could have himself a day where he's throwing pick after pick. You just don't really know. But you said the only threat being their running back in Fletcher.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get Malachi Tony in there as a threat. I know you were talking about rushing, but they had 175 yards of rushing, which isn't bad. Their field goal kicker just couldn't put it through the uprights. Those uprights were absolutely...
Yeah, of that 175 yards, Fletcher was responsible for 172 of it.
Yeah, so pretty much the whole damn thing.
Again,
you count quarterback sacks.
Yep.
So Malachi Tony, he had that punt return. They almost took that to the house, and it was like it seemed for a moment like these teams just didn't want to win. They're like, I do not want to face Ohio State. So they were just giving points away. Like, I don't want these points. I don't want these points. Like going for it on fourth down, not making it, 4 missed field goals, and then the turnovers.
Yeah, you've seen Texas A&M light up SEC defenses all year round. And now they weren't playing the best SEC schedule, and everybody likes to pound their fist and talk about how great the SEC is. But to Texas A&M's lens, it was a pretty soft schedule. And you've seen them light up the scoreboard against, SEC defenses, and you've seen them go against this ACC defense that at times have looked really suspect outside of their pass rushing, and they've scored 3. They scored 3 points. 3 points, man. What a sad day for A&M. That was a shit performance.
And if it weren't for a touchdown in the end of the fourth quarter almost, with Malachi Tony making redemption for that fumble that he lost, he's a good player, man. He is electric. And even you saw it on the Downs to Business podcast. If you follow that on Twitter, they're like, dude, he is fast. Malachi Tony's fast. But it looks like we got ourselves a little Miami troll in here. And he's like, this is going to be laughable. Ohio State hasn't played anyone this season.
And Miami has. I mean, we've seen what the ACC produced this year. Just absolute abysmal. And Miami, I mean, their one good win, I guess, would be Notre Dame. But if you're a Miami fan talking about the Ohio State schedule, you might want to go look at yours.
I'm going to have to look at Brian Buckeye stats. He must have posted something good because he got us the link on here, but I'll have to check that out. Well, one of these times when you get a ramble going. So let's see what I'm not even Raider Steel. We're just going to call you Raider Steel. So we got our Miami troll in here. Mr. Raider Steel winning the 2002 championship wasn't the flex you thought it was in 2011. Last game played, Miami 24-6. Lamar Miller had 200 yards rushing versus Ohio State. Yeah, it was a completely different team in 2011. First of all, go look at who the coach was, an interim coach, number one. Number two, that team went to the Outback Bowl and lost to Florida that year too. So it wasn't a good team, and it was a little hamstrung just based on losing their coach and just having an interim coach that wasn't allowed to do anything.
If you're a Miami or Ohio State fan and you're reflecting this game on 2002, 2011, or 2010, it's stupid anyway. I mean, where are those players even at these days? Like, come on now. That has nothing to do with it. That's a wild look.
Actually, you know what's funny about that is one of the guys, the linebacker, his son just committed to Ohio State. That's how long ago it was in 2002. That they're exactly sons of the players.
There's one on the team too.
Yeah. So get out of there with that nonsense. In 2011, yeah, like I said, it was we had an interim coach. I was at that game. It was miserable though too.
About 14 years ago.
Yeah.
There's nothing left.
There's a lot can change. And what has Miami done since then?
I guess this is their first time back to something successful.
They're back to big boy football again. So let's see what happens. Go Bucks. Red finger number 1. Yeah, I'll take it. We are on a mission. That's the other thing. The motivation for Ohio State is at an all-time high. This team, don't want to say got embarrassed in the Big Ten championship game, but they're not happy about it. Yeah, I'll say embarrassed. They're embarrassed to lose to Indiana in the championship. Now, Indiana was a damn good team, obviously, and we're going to see it. We're going to see how good exactly Indiana was, and without their star defensive lineman, Stephen Daly. Did you see that too? Getting injured after?
Yeah, celebrating. That's a huge loss for them, man. That's a big hit.
That is tough. How firm thy friendship, Ohio. Locker room's bringing it early in the morning. I didn't think anyone would be in here. Let's get back to our troll. Miami destroyed Texas A&M in 2023, but the narrative the media suggests is that Texas A&M is an SEC member and Kyle Field is missing the 12th man because of it. I'm not sure I follow that, but anyway, I get that. Texas A&M just didn't turn out to be a good team last year.
No, I mean Miami deserved to be in these playoffs. They went out, they beat Texas A&M, regardless of how soft their schedule was, and I think Texas A&M was a bit of a fraud. They still went out there and beat them. They earned this chance to beat Ohio State. They deserve to be in the playoffs over Notre Dame. I don't care what anybody says. Head-to-head matters. So all respect to Miami. All respect to this game that's coming up. But I'm here for it, and I'm ready for it. And I think there is going to be some challenges that Ohio State has to face with Miami. But I think the problems that Miami has to face with Ohio State are going to be a little bit greater. And you see that in the spread.
Mm-hmm. That's what I want to ask Raider Steele. Like, what did you think about Notre Dame, man? Notre Dame missing out and all the shit talking there. They wanted to get in despite the head-to-head. You saw Mario Cristobal got asked about it after the game. He's like, head-to-head has to matter. And that's just the most common sense thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
It has to matter. I mean, what's the point? Why are we playing these games? Even if it's the first game of the season, if you're comparing two teams and there's a head-to-head matchup as evidence, that's where you go. If they're close, if they have the same record, it's obvious. Notre Dame fans are just butthurt because they're losing out on a lot of money and a chance for a national title.
Yeah, and I'm interested in Miami, man. They lack consistency this year, so they might go out and have a game like this against Texas A&M, and then what's their next game look like? They've obviously had consistency issues throughout the season. You can see them beat a team like Notre Dame, and then you can see them go out and play bad against SMU and so on. So who is Miami, right? Are they – I'm sure they're motivated. Everybody's motivated in the playoffs, so we can talk about motivation, but all these teams I'm sure JMU was motivated. I'm sure Tulane was motivated, but it didn't serve them too well. So we can talk about motivation all we want. But, yeah, Miami's got some consistency issues. Ohio State has questions they need to answer at offensive line. And the strength of Miami is the defensive line. Ready to see it, man. Ready to see it.
Yeah.
Buckeyes figure out that right guard position and start balling, man. I think bombs over Baghdad should be the play with Julian saying just hopefully whipping it downfield if he can step up in the pocket and avoid the rush on the edge. I think Steve was right with the rollouts. I think the rollouts are going to be taken away a little bit by Miami, so you kind of want to keep them clean in the pocket if you can.
Mm-hmm. And the way that Julian Sane throughout the year has moved inside the pocket has been almost flawless until you got to that Indiana game, but that was just because there was nowhere to go. I mean, there was absolutely nowhere to go. That defensive line pressure was impressive by Indiana, and you got to give Indiana credit for that and their defensive line credit for that. And I hope
and coverage. Some of those were definitely coverage sacks where he couldn't find the open spot, or he just couldn't read the defense quick. So maybe it was a little bit confusing for Sayan too. So obviously Miami's going to look at that game film and try to figure out a way they can use that Indiana model to slow down the Ohio State offense. There's no doubt about it. Now, do they have the secondary to do what Indiana did? That's the question, because they haven't been consistent all year and they've gotten eaten up in the deep ball.
We got some shit talking in the locker room. Let's get to the locker room real quick. Oh boy. Come back and holler at us after you catch that whooping by Rollin Coconut. Like, yeah. And then our boy Doug he's getting in there too. Tell him. But Raider Steele is keeping it real. He's like, I love to crap talk, I love to talk crap. but the playoff format didn't give us the best teams in JMU, Tulane, and they didn't deserve to be there. Notre Dame should have been in over one of those two if we're putting the best in.
I agree. That was my argument, right? Like Notre Dame fans were kind of talking about Miami and how they should have been in over them or Alabama. Like that wasn't the argument, man. You shouldn't have been in over those teams. Miami beat you head to head. You can't punish a team for being in a title game. So the argument is with the formatting, and you can even talk about the ACC and how they figure out who's in the championship game when it comes down to ties. You could talk about that. You can talk about conference size. There's a lot of different problems, and I agree completely with Steele there that those two teams didn't deserve to be in. It should have been a Notre Dame, maybe even BYU, and you knock them both out of there. I think there's some problems with the formatting. Hopefully they get it fixed. And then also you need to look at these title games, man. These title games and the tiebreakers that conferences have are a little bit ridiculous. That put Duke in over Miami in the first place in the ACC title game, which was a foul in my opinion.
So you think BYU and Notre Dame would have been better than JMU and Tulane?
Who doesn't? Is that a serious question?
I'm conflicted about this. I think that there needs to be a path just in case that there is, but a Power 6, I'll call it, school that deserves to be in there that could come out of nowhere like a Boise State has done in the past. I think that there needs to be one, but having two is just damn ridiculous, man.
I think one with some conditions, like maybe one and you got to be top 15. I think there needs to be some conditions on it. I think more and more we get, like we keep falling in love with that Boise State, maybe that Utah back in the day, and those teams are rare, man. Like they just don't come up out of there too often, and we need to be more precision based on who we let in as far as those teams go, because it's not worked out since probably Boise State, Utah era. Like you just don't.
I think we have a problem too. I think it's be more rare now. We have the NIL era where those teams came across before we had that. So if you have a good player and they're a stud, they're going to get offered a boatload of money to come up to the big boys if they're a junior, right? To have a season to show that they can be the best of the best. So those teams are going to be rare to stack years on years on years and get to that level where they can compete with the big boys. So I think it's just college football has changed. The dynamics of college football have changed, and the ability for a Cinderella team to come around has lessened considerably.
I agree to that.
But we got a newbie in here, Robert. Hello from Columbus, Ohio, but live in Edenville, Alabama. That sounds
welcome in, Robert. Welcome in, man. How's the weather down there in Alabama?
Well, he said he's in Columbus right now, so he must be
Columbus. Oh, from Columbus. Gotcha. Hey, I guess you're making it home for the holidays too, huh?
Living in SEC country, repping that Buckeye gear, it's got to be nice, man. Go Bucks. So, yeah, I think JMU put a good fight up against Oregon. They definitely didn't defensively. I mean, Oregon looked like they could score at will. It's like you blink your eye, you're going to miss a touchdown.
I disagree a little bit because I think that game got out of hand so quick that Oregon pulled off the Ducks, if you will. And I think you saw some kind of maybe some late surgence by JMU, but I don't think that was a game at all. I mean, that thing was over.
Yeah, but they had their starters in the fourth quarter. Still.
Just because you put your starters in doesn't mean you make a soft coverage or you don't put a lot there on defense and tape. So I think they got up to a big lead and then just kind of let the game kind of flow out.
That's true. I mean, you might not be giving your all. You know the game's pretty much over. In fact, I threw up our
basic defense. You're not doing anything fancy. You're staying away from the stunts. You're staying away from rolling coverages. Like you're just kind of like go out there and play, man, boys.
Give me the next highest ranked 3-loss team or Big Ten team should take that last spot. I think that there needs to be more representation from other leagues too. I don't like that you're going to have 5 teams from the SEC in and then 3 from the Big Ten. I think that there should be a cap on how many at 4 from each league because I know that can lead to a problem in the future, but because the narrative is spun so much from ESPN, you're going to have the benefit of the doubt always given to the SEC. And you've seen it. The only teams to lose are
I'll
an
agree
SEC
and disagree to that though, because you look at the ACC this year. Like, who's the second team that deserves to be in? Right? Like the Big 12, you can make an argument for two teams. Like, who's taking those spots away from the SEC and the Big 10? I think it has to be in conditions, man. Like, you can't just give automatic. In this model, you can't give automatic buy-ins to conferences. I don't think you do automatic takeaways in either. Like, it just needs to be a smart look at who's in and who's out. Because there's no doubt that there shouldn't have been two ACC teams in. I think Miami was the only deserving SEC or ACC team that should have been in. Maybe if Virginia beats Duke, obviously they should have been in, but obviously.
Yeah, it's kind of Virginia just killed themselves by not beating Duke.
Yeah, so you can say that, but like who? I mean, even BYU, man, did they deserve to be in?
Well, that's an interesting point. I was thinking about that last night, and I was like, BYU got smacked by Texas A&M or Texas Tech, twice. But how good is Texas Tech? If Texas Tech is awesome, if they run the table,
is a wild card, man. Like, I think,
dude, if
they're the most intriguing team because we don't know who they are, right? And that comes back to my point. We don't know who they are because of the Big 12. I think you have a lot of like mid-range good teams. Like, you got Utah, you got like a lot of solid teams out there, but there's no great power out there. Maybe Texas Tech is that, or maybe they're just the best of that bunch. And it's going to be interesting to see Texas Tech play Oregon. I think that's the most intriguing game of the next round of the playoffs because I'm really, really interested to see who Texas Tech is.
Yeah. And going against Oregon, we're going to find out quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because, man, Oregon looked good. I guess it was JMU, so you can't really say, how good they were. But I think Lanning has a little chip on his shoulder. They were like absolutely ecstatic that they got that first round game. They did not want to have a bye. They attribute all of last year to having that long layoff. But we're going to see. And I think it depends on where your team's at the time. And I talked about this on our last show. If you are humming, if you're ready to roll, it's probably not good to sit off that long. But if you need some work, you need some offensive line work, like Ohio State did last year, you need to get your kind of group back together and you need to motivate everyone. Having a mid-season or a pre-playoff training camp is the best thing for you.
No, I think Oregon had the best setup, man. Like as far as an Ole Miss, if Lane Kiffin didn't leave, like those games are the best because you get to go out there and knock off some rust. You get to go out there and actually play the game. You're not in like a huge threat of losing, but you don't have to really risk injury. Obviously, anytime you step on the field, there's a chance of that, but you can kind of mitigate who's playing, who's not playing, stretch, iron out some game plan, knock off some rust, and then boom, you get to go play Texas Tech. I mean, I think that's a great seed in. I think the 5th seed has been one of the great spots. I mean, it didn't work out well for Texas last year, but it's still a great spot as far as having the ability to play the 12th seed, knock off rust, go play the 4th seed. I mean, great position for Oregon to be in. And then what's scary about Oregon is health, man. We haven't seen healthy Oregon since week 6. And if this time off that they had and playing JMU, how healthy are they when they play Texas Tech and further?
Some of this is eye-opening. Brian Buckeye stats. Look at the box score. JMU whooped Oregon in the second half. They had over 500 yards and only lost by 17 points. That's better than Oregon did against Ohio State last year.
All I know is when you say only 17, that's I don't know. That whole sentence gets flushed down the toilet for me when you say only 17 points, especially when that 17-point gap that you made up to get to that 17 points was all in the second half when the game was well out of hand. I get what Brian and I get what the stats are saying, but I feel like that's just two different teams at that point. I'll give them JMU some credit. They didn't just fold. They went out there and still tried, but I don't think you can really compare the first half and the second half and say that's Oregon, right? Like it's probably somewhere in the middle, and it doesn't really matter because the game's over and it's JMU. Let's see what Texas Tech has got. But I don't know. I don't know if I agree with the stats there, but I get what he's trying to say.
Yeah. I don't think I do either, just because of the point you brought up last time. Even if your starters are in the second half, you have a big lead on this team. And really you saw, if you want to, talk about that, let's talk about Oregon. How did they do in the second half against Ohio State? in the Rose Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
They scored more points. Go back and look at that.
I would say Tulane, if you're trying to make an argument that these smaller teams deserve to be in, I think the better argument is Tulane, honestly, because if they score right before halftime when they were at the 25-yard line, you're talking about a 7-point game at halftime against Ole Miss. Like, I think that's a better argument than this one where Oregon jumps out to this massive lead and then an unmotivated Oregon lets them slowly reel in a 17-point loss. Like, who cares?
All right, you go ahead with the locker room because I'm going to look that up because now I'm curious. I think Oregon scored more points last year in the second half than Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. You got anything in the locker room you want to go over?
No, I got nothing really on here. Let's see. Iowa deserved a spot more than anyone else. They kind of whooped up on Vandy Lou Holtz boy.
Oh, Iowa.
There's no world where Iowa deserved to be in this, man. You'd have to give that to USC before Iowa. I would say
look at how, in defense of Iowa, look how well they played against Oregon. Look at how well they played against Indiana. I believe they lost by 5 to Indiana.
I'm not saying that they're a bad team, but eventually you have to win those games, right? Like, it's a tight group. You're talking about 100-some teams bidding for 12 spots, man. Like, those games matter. And losing by 5 or losing by 10 or in a minute and a half left in the game and a field goal wins, it doesn't matter, man. Like, you got to win those games because other teams are. It does in some. As bad as I say Texas A&M schedule was, they won those games, right? Miami, they were in some close games. They won those games, and that's where Iowa got left out, and that's why Iowa got left out. You have to get one of those games, especially in the college football schedule right now. Nobody wants to play tough out-of-conference games. So whenever you go up against the Indianas and the Oregons and you only lose by 5 or you only lose by 3, you gotta change that. Like, you win one of those games, and it's a different discussion. Yeah, but if you show you're a quality team that you can give a good fight against. Like, I don't care. I'm a Big Ten guy. I love Big Ten. Big Ten backers, podcast guy forever, right? Like, but to say Iowa deserved to be in over any of these teams, man, I don't know. That's a wild take. All right. And I love Iowa, dude. That's one of my favorite stadiums to go see. One of my favorite fan bases. Like, I love the Big Ten. I love Iowa, but man, that's a bit out there. Like, this whole I played tough. I'm just saying it's something close in a tough game. It doesn't matter. You got to win one. And I know that's kind of the committee's thing. It's like, oh, they only lost by this against this. It's about winning games, man. It's not about losing by a little or a lot. And Robert, you forgot one. And we talked about it earlier in the show before you were on here. But the last time they played was 22 years ago. It wasn't. It was 2011. And Miami got us. They got their redemption on our I don't know what you want to call it, the one slump Ohio State's had in the past 30 years. In 2011, when Fickle was the interim head coach. So they got us there. And going back to Cody Croy talking about no Cinderellas, there have been Cinderellas. It was just before your time, man. You kid. You gotta go back and look at that Boise State crew. You gotta go back and look at Urban Meyer's Utah crew. Go check those boys out because they were Cinderella stories. And if the ones that they got left out, if there would have been a 12-team playoff then, and Utah was in it, they might have won a national title then. I won't say no Cinderella. You just have she has to look good enough to go to the ball, and these teams just didn't. Right? I love Cinderella story. I love Cinderella teams. But just because you want one, you don't just throw them in there automatically. That's the difference, right? The Boise States, the Utahs, the UCFs, they deserve to be at the ball. They deserve to be in the dance. The shoe fit, right? And then I think since we're forcing it, you're starting to get teams that they're not that. Like, and those Boise States, those Utahs, man, they don't come around too often. Mm-hmm. Miami of Ohio way back in the 2001, 2002 era that maybe deserved a chance with Ben Roethlisberger slinging the rock for him. But those teams are just so few and far between. I want to know where Vandy Chris is right now. That's funny. Vandy Chris, all his picks were wrong. I think he was 0-3, right? Buckeye stats. Yeah, Brian. I think he was 0-3 yesterday for his picks. Or maybe 1-3. Anyway, let's go back to Doug and talk about this because Doug's bringing it back to the game. I love this. I'm concerned about this game.
It has shades of 2022 or 2002 reversed, except Ohio State has a lot of NFL players. So long as it isn't some funky bounces and bad calls, it could get interesting.
Yeah, I think you look at that 2002 game, that was loaded with NFL talent on both sides of the field. I think Miami was just on that crazy run that they were on, and Ohio State didn't get a look at the chance from the media just because I don't think they looked at the NFL talent because nobody really knew at the time. It was just Miami was dominant for so long, and then Ohio State came in there and ruined that, and that was on defense. And I think that's going to be the difference. And you have a right to be concerned as Ohio State. I'm concerned. Obviously, you've seen the way the offensive line played against Indiana. Miami has the same capability to disrupt the passing game. So as a Buckeye fan, you should be concerned, and it could reflect like that. I feel like the only difference is I don't think Miami has the entire stack defense that Ohio State did. If you're trying to like match the matchups, Ohio State's defense was in 2002 was obnoxiously good. I don't think this Miami team as a whole on defense is obnoxiously good, but their front four is definitely of that caliber.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention it was Matt Wilhelm, who was the middle linebacker at the time, whose son is currently committed to Ohio State. I didn't mention it, so I thought I'd throw that out there. But
Will Smith, obviously, junior's on the team.
I think that's what the problem was, right? Because then that defense didn't get any credit. And I go back to an interview I had with Matt Wilhelm where he was talking about everything that was hung in the locker room. They had their after party planned. All right, we're going to get to that. And Miami knew that they were going to win. I think it was on a different level. Miami did have a national title the year before. They were also undefeated, though, too. So, I think if Ohio State would have beat Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, we'd be looking more at everyone's going to say Ohio State's going to dominate this game. You're going to have some pundits out there like, well, hold the brakes there or pump the brakes a little bit. There are some question marks to this Ohio State team, particularly because of the 5 sacks that Indiana had.
Yeah, I think the defense obviously for Ohio State's going to keep them in any game against anybody in the playoffs. The defense is legit. But yeah, that right guard position has been kind of the Achilles heel all season. It didn't really bite us until we played an elite team like Indiana. I don't think Miami's elite as Indiana, but they still have they're the worst matchup that we could have got out of all the teams that made the playoffs that didn't get a bye. Outside of Oregon, I would say. So you're talking about as far as teams that can maybe hurt Ohio State, I would say Oregon and Miami is probably the next two that would be the most dangerous matchups, and it comes down to that defensive line.
I got to get on here and take a pause because, man, with all this football talk, it does seem like we take a little bit away from it being Christmas season, man. So thank you, Steely Matt, for bringing that back. Love the show. Steve, happy holidays. Happy holidays, Matt, man. I appreciate it. God bless you.
And happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody.
And Merry Christmas to you, AJ, who gets to spend some time with his family, after 7 months apart. It's awesome. All right, let's get back in the locker room because we got another Miami fan here. Good luck. It will be a competitive game.
Welcome in, man. I'm ready for the game. I'm excited. It's always good. It's always fun to play Miami. Definitely to see how our offensive line holds up to that defensive line. It's been my talk all day. I can't wait to see Fletcher. I think Fletcher was a huge miss for Ohio State when Miami flipped him to from Ohio State to Miami. I think that he's going to be fun to watch. That kid's got all kinds of talent, man. I'm ready to see that. And, of course, I want to see this Ohio State defense because it's a legendary defense. So I'm down for it, man. I'm here for it. I know you are too. I can't wait till the 31st and we get to see this game.
I like to see Johnny Buckets. Thanks for joining the locker room. I like to see these Miami fans in here they seem to be different than they were in 2002.
I mean, why would you be, man? If you're coming off, they were in 2002, man. That was you were the Kings.
It's time to talk. But now they know, hey, we're building back up, and this could be their welcome home party. Like if they pull this one off, Miami is back, right?
I mean, they had a solid year. I think Miami's already made principles to be back. This is meaningful football, and it's been maybe a little while since Miami's seen it, and here they are taking advantage of it by taking down Texas A&M, and then on to the next one, which is Ohio State, and obviously it just gets harder and harder.
So it started with a kiss on the cheek from Michael Irving to Mario Cristobal. If they beat Ohio State, what kind of kiss is he getting after that?
I tell you what, man, if I could build a podcast right now, give me Chris Carter and Michael Irvin
Oh, yeah.
talking to one another. That would be kind of fun.
That would be sweet. That would absolutely be sweet. Hey, Chris Carter, if you're watching, make it happen, man. We'll get you on here. I mean, I know he follows the Twitter account, so maybe, just maybe he watches and we can talk him into it. But if not, just do it on your show, man. You got plenty of outlets. That would be awesome.
Oh, no doubt. That would be a fun.
The chirping back and forth, like live game, that would be sweet too. Mic them up. All right, Tegra was benched, and I don't think we had any other sacks after that. I might have missed. Oh, they're up above. Brian Buckeye Stats says, don't believe Ohio State had any sacks after Tegra was benched. I don't think they did either. Gabe Van Sickle played. What was his PFF, Brian? Gabe Van Sickle's PFF was through the roof. I think he was the highest graded in that game. And Doug said, I heard that Tegra was credited with 3 of those sacks. Yeah, that's what I remembered, but I have to go back and look for sure.
Oh, Tegra had his worst game I think I've ever seen him play. I mean, he's obviously had some issues, but that was bad.
And Brian's starting to get that model rolling. I forgot to add your model. Hey, man, I'm going to go look that up right now. Yeah, Tegra had his issues. All right. Before I do, actually, I'm going to this box score, and I'm going to see how many points Oregon had last year in the Rose Bowl versus what Ohio State
I agree
had.
with Brian here. I believe Beck has been completely inconsistent as far as what Miami was hoping bringing him over from Georgia. He's been a quarterback that's cost him some games, and he's definitely got some issues. He probably is maybe one of the worst quarterbacks. Now he's got all the tools and the experience to flip it one game, but for the most part, man, he has been a liability for Miami at quarterback.
Just for proof of what I was saying, when you're comparing JMU's second half to Oregon and Ohio State's second half, I went back, I pulled it, I got it here, and why? I mean, it might just be because I like to prove that a point that I was.
I mean, I know what he's trying to do, but man, stats still don't say everything, man. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to have a flow for the game too. But look at that second half. So the Ducks outscored Ohio State even after they were blowing them out 13-7.
And there's some psychology here, right? Like JMU's happy to be there. They're happy to fight. They kind of figured this might happen, right? When you're Oregon and you get your doors blown off you as the number 1 seed, what does that do to your head, man? Like, where's that put you mentally in the game? Like, there's so many different factors outside of stats that you can't really take stats and compare them to another stats and say this is how it was or this is how it is. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, when you come to like predicting games, I believe that's where Brian excels. I mean, his model is awesome. It's super good. You all want to make some money in betting, follow Brian. His stats are amazing when it comes to predicting games, but I don't know. I've never been a fan of like comparing one game to another, especially when it's over different seasons. But I do appreciate the work, Brian. I just think this is just a whole different aspect versus Oregon getting the door kicked down on them by Ohio State versus JMU. One was not expected and one was expected, and he's going to keep on grinding and keep on fighting.
Hey, he's got that clap back for you. Stats and nerds rule, man. Take your seat.
Hey, man, I'm not gonna deny him. He's trying to make money in the betting game. Brian's where it's at. Don't listen to me. I'll set you up for failure. Brian's got that data, baby.
Bain is going to eat sane for dinner. And I think that's where a lot of this is going to go. I mean, that's where a lot of the talk is, and that's going to be the key to the game. How does Ohio State's offensive line protect? This is the key matchup. How is Ohio State's offensive line going to protect against this defensive line? Because you saw them against a monster,
man. I think for Ohio State fans who haven't watched Miami this year, this guy is as good as it gets. He is. I mean, he's pure NFL talent. I mean, this dude is legit. Bain Jr. is a monster, man. And then you talk about Keontae Scott, who had a damn good game as well. I mean, this defensive line is no joke. This Miami ability to pressure the passers, no joke. Now, where you can make them eat it is where their secondary has give up a lot of deep passes, and that's where you have to win that just enough, even if it's a matter of half a second. If you can give, say, in half a second more, and then maybe you got Smith or Tate running 50 yards.
Yeah, and Roberts, you're right. It's going to be a battle in the trenches. That's where we're going to see it. That's where we're going to see this game won. That's where we're going to see this game lost. Unless Zane has just enough time to get that ball out to Jeremiah Smith, who's also on a motivational path right now.
So is Tate, man. Those are South Florida boys that want to go out there and beat Miami. Of course, you're going to have that's going to be a fun little matchup between the secondary.
No, I'm talking about even more than that.
I'm just saying primarily based in Miami, and you have these defectors right in their minds as the South Florida guy. You see these guys go up to Ohio State and play, so you're going to be motivated to stop them. Plus, it increases your draft stock, so that's going to be a fun to watch. And then also, the defensive line is definitely going to be key.
Well, I'm talking about Jeremiah Smith being snubbed for the Blitnikoff. He came out there, he posted a video about that, and he's not happy, man. Come on. You could win Big Ten wide receiver of the year, and another Big Ten wide receiver gets the Blitnikoff. Make that make sense. We all know this is a generational player. We all know it. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, AJ, it sounds like it's time for you to hit the road, brother.
Yeah, I got to get moving, man.
You got to go take care of that family. I'll get into a little bit of the comments with everyone by myself. I'm not really a solo show type of guy, but let's get into it just a little bit. All right.
And as always, y'all.
Thanks for joining us.
Let's go. Let's take down Miami.
Here we go. Later, dude. Appreciate it. We're going to get into a little bit of the locker room, so let's get in there. And I feel the same way, Brian. Bain is a humble monster too. Those are the ones you need to worry about. He said, "God bless you" to those A&M cats. Well, the A&M cats gave him some motivation. That's key. If you get locker room material in these big games, you get up for them and you're ready to prove that you're better than what all the pundits say. Well, I think you have some of that in Jeremiah Smith. You have that with the offensive line at Ohio State. You also have that with Saying. You saw that he had one media member around him at the Heisman ceremony. This is all motivational material that Ryan Day and that coaching staff will use for Ohio State. I'm sure with Cristobal, you're going to get that type of motivation, like they don't think we belong. They didn't want us in the college football playoff, but we're here. We're here. We've shown we belong. And then getting that team motivated won't be hard either. It's going to be interesting to see. Going to be really interesting to see. Hopefully Daniels will do to Bain what he did to the Texas All-American defensive end in Collins. Yeah. And he showed out. Daniels, that's why I'm not as concerned, because our weakness was at that right guard. If we have Van Sickle in there, I think everything's going to be fine. Steve, we've been living in an upside-down world for a couple of years. Well, I think it'll get more upside down than that, but I don't really know. Let's talk some football. Let's just talk some football, because I am ready for this Cotton Bowl to take place now. I'm ready for round 2. Everything in round 2 looks awesome. Ready for some of these games. I'm ready to see what Oregon to do. And talk about Indiana's path. Indiana has a little bit of a rough path to get in. That Rose Bowl is going to be interesting against Alabama. Alabama looks motivated. They look determined. It's going to be really fun to see what the Hoosiers do out there in the Rose Bowl. First Rose Bowl ever, I believe. So it's going to be fun to watch Indiana take on Bama. And it's going to be fun to see, how good are they really, right? Are they past that? They're passing all the tests all year long. So let's see what this team's really made of. They're traveling. I mean, they finally got over that hump, and they're one of those teams that was hot at the end of the year, like Oregon last year. Now, can you translate that in the playoffs with that time off? That's the other thing I want to see. All that time off, does that make a difference? It did last year, seemingly. I think it was just an excuse. I mean, having that time off, it's not that big a deal. It didn't affect Ohio State. Ohio State still had time off because they didn't play in the Big Ten championship game. Going to be interesting. Going to be real interesting. The Big Ten will win the national championship for a third year in a row. Now, I like that talk. I like that talk a lot because as soon as you get 3 years in a row, you're the best conference, hands down. All right. And then next year, this time, when they're deciding who's going to be in the playoffs, they better give the Big Ten the benefit of the doubt by having more teams in than any other conference. If you win 3 years in a row, you're the top dog. I mean, and that's just not, it's science at that point. It's not conjecture. We have evidence to support it. So I think we've gotten to everything in the locker room. Real quickly, I wanted to try to go over to Brian Buckeye stats and pull his model over. So give me just a second, and I will get to Brian Buckeye stats. Good stuff. Because he's sending it out to me. He predicts it every time. The only thing that the model does not get right is Alabama. Always gets Alabama wrong, and it did again. So no difference there. Still happening. I think I have to sign in to X again. It's not coming up, so maybe next time. Brian, we'll get into your playoff rankings probably starting at least tomorrow. And we're doing a show tomorrow. It's going to be more of a college football backer show. So come and check it out. I'll still broadcast it to the Buckeye backers channels, but it's going to be more of a college football playoff show. Miami will be in trouble with our front seven. So are you saying, Darian, you don't think that they'll be able to hang with our defensive line? Because you're probably right. I think that this is a matchup of strengths on weaknesses on both sides of the ball. So if you look for Ohio State's offense, their offensive line, how are they going to handle their defense? But I think Miami in general, how are they going to handle Ohio State's defense? Because, buddy, I mean, this is a generational defense that we have right here. The Buckeyes are the only team in America to hold other teams under 10 points per game. They lead the FBS. So they're just giving up 8.2 points per game and 213.5 yards, and that's first nationally. So when they go against a Texas A&M defense last night, or yesterday, I guess I should say, not last night, they didn't fare real well. I mean, they didn't put up a ton of yards, and Texas A&M really is not that great. So at least defensively, they looked like it because Miami couldn't put any points on the board, but Miami had plenty of yards. I mean, in terms of yards, they weren't bad at all. They actually did pretty well. I think they had 300 yards. I'll double check that real quick. I think it was 300 total yards for the day. Let me double check. Oh, there's the other thing that I wanted to get into, the odds-on favorites for winning the title and the odds-on favorites for Michigan's coaching search. So I got a couple of those things to show y'all real quick before we get out of here. Yeah, they had 278 total yards, 103 passing, 175. So that's pretty pedestrian against a Texas A&M defense that isn't the best nationally. They're good. Actually, I need to look that up. Unless someone wants to get that from the locker room. How does Jester Jones steal the Cotton Bowl name? Cotton Bowl sits in South Dallas. I think it was just because of money, to be honest with you. Well, you got to go to Arlington because of the stadium, because it's indoor, and because it brings in the business, I guess, in the area maybe. And just the fact that that's an old stadium, I really don't know. I really don't know. I would like to see. I've never seen a Cotton Bowl game down there in South Dallas either. I would love to see that stadium. It looks historical. It looks beautiful. And Honestly, I like those outdoor venues better, especially for bowl games. I would much prefer to go out there. Like when you go out to the Rose Bowl, like just because it's an old stadium doesn't mean you don't use it. I prefer those college type atmospheres rather than the indoor games anyway. Oh, we got a Hurricane Sean 23 for Miami. And this is laughable. Ohio State 13. There is no way in hell Ohio State's going to give up 23 points to Miami. It's just not happening. Now, if you want to give me a 13-10 type of score, because that's a bad number for Ohio State, I could believe that. But there ain't no chance in hell that Miami scores 23 points. It's just not happening. And that's a pipe dream if you think that's happening. Bradley's with me. Interesting. I believe Matt Patricia will have the defensive scheme that will keep Miami under 16, and that's a season high given up against Illinois. I don't think Miami scores 10 points. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if Miami gets held to a goose egg. Now, is that likely? No, but it wouldn't surprise me. This defense is elite. And if you're going to miss field goals like that, I don't know if that kicker is that bad traditionally, or if it was the wind or what, or if it was just a bad game. But if your points in the red zone are going to be a premium, for sure. Yeah, Ohio State keeping teams under 17 points this year will continue. Absolutely will. Miami, 29th in scoring offense. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. 29th in scoring offense. So what have we done against other teams that are up there in the top 30 in scoring offense? Obviously, no one's scoring. We haven't faced a lot of great offenses, I'll tell you that. But if you're holding every single team under 17 points per game and your average is under 10 points a game, come on, man. Good luck. Washington was a good offensive team. Forgot about that. Miami is number 76 in rushing offense, too. And they still didn't do that great against this Texas A&M team, who I believe is 52nd in the nation in rushing defense. Ryan? 58th, sorry. So the total rushing yards, 175 for Miami. They're going to have a lot less rushing yards against Ohio State. I'll give you that. Ohio State's best defense in the country, and Carson Beck may throw 4 interceptions. It depends on what Carson Beck shows up. We're not going to know until the game starts. Miami is going to be forced to be one-dimensional. I don't think they're going to be able to run. They're going to have to depend on Carson Beck. They're going to have to get Malachi Toney the ball in space somewhere because he is electric. I'd love that if they try to run all game. Yeah, let Miami run all game. Go for it. Let's see what you got. Man, the locker room's hot right now. Man, I don't even have to think of my own thoughts. I'm just going to keep going to the locker room. Ohio State gave up 5 sacks last game. Just imagine our defensive line. And that's a point, Sean. Absolutely. That's a point. But I think Ohio State has that fixed. All right. 3 of them came from one guy in particular who I think is out for the season and may have been injured before that. So we'll see about that. And Fletcher, yeah, we talked about that earlier. Fletcher had himself a game and should be at Ohio State. Should have been an Ohio State commit, but I'll take Bo Jackson all day long. All day long. If you want to try to run against this Ohio State team, be my guest. Be my guest, because this defense is full of a lot of All-Americans, really. Miami line, very good, no doubt. But Miami hasn't seen weapons like this all year, and that's including the Notre Dame game. Yeah, offensively, just give Ohio State and saying some time to protect, and we're going to see a different team. When Ryan Day talked about turning up the gas earlier in the season, I think he was talking about Michigan. I think it was talking about the playoffs more than anything. And once they accomplished that Michigan, kind of getting over the hump against Michigan, I don't think that they had all their motivation on the Big Ten championship game. Why? I don't know. I think they thought maybe they could win that game without showing too much for the playoffs, or they just got stubborn. And I think it's easy for coaches to get back into that stubborn mentality, whereas like I can take this game. We can take these guys no matter what. We'll see. We're gonna see. I mean, we saw it last season. I think you default back into conservative play calling at times when the going gets tough. Sometimes when your team's distracted. But we got to air it out. That's what this team's built on. It's built on weapons on the outside. It's built on the best wide receivers in college football. It's built on a quarterback having deadly accuracy, almost 80%. Air the ball out. Let Bo Jackson run the ball, especially in goal line or short situations. He's our back. Stick with him no matter what. That's all I got to say. I think we're going to dive into this a little bit more in our weekly show. We're also going to have a Tuesday show so that we don't have a Christmas Eve show. We're not going to have that Wednesday show. So join us again. God bless everyone. Take care. Have a wonderful Christmas if we don't talk to you beforehand. And like I said, God bless. Take care. Peace out.